residential tends to come to the areas that develop large-scale commercial. So in that respect, that's another problem with large-scale commercial. It brings more residential, people tend to buy around it. No more commercial can come in usually, or will come in because of the large-scale commercial. And so there's nothing left but the owners of the property to sell it for residential. The compromise law Mr. Riley suggested didn't even allow for residential in that area. So that's troubling when it comes to property rights. As far as the anomaly of Glenmont, well, unfortunately, I'm in the Bethlehem Central School District, and I lived through that anomaly. It's not. Facts show that this is not an anomaly. It's the way things go with this type of development. And in there, town residents of Bethlehem saw an average increase of about $0.05 a year in their per thousand assessed rate. And after that development went in, they went up 21 cents in 1 year per thousand. At the same time, you would expect school taxes to drop because, of course, the residents haven't, the residential hasn't gathered around that. But unfortunately, and I pay my taxes to the town, or to the Bethlehem Central School District, those taxes never even hesitated in their growth. Again, another anomaly. Also, when you get this great big tax base, supposed from some of these larger scale developments, you gain assessed value in a town, so you also lose state school aid. So it's so many levels to this situation that goes into coming up with a sound size of 5,100. And I thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. LaGrange. Mr. Smith.
Well, I'm not a planner and I'm not any kind of expert on this, but I do know land. And there's 200 acres of land over there. 200 acres of land is a good hunk of land. I'm talking about the Bender Melon Farm. Stuyvesant Plaza is 250,000 square feet. It's on 20 acres. If we take half of that and we put it on 200 acres, I don't get it. What are we doing with the rest of it? There's still going to be a lot of land there. We don't want to put houses on it. We can't just say, okay, let's leave it open. There has to be a compromise in the middle. 100,000 will get lost in there. It's nothing. The plan that they had with the 100,000 said 100,000 and that was it. You could not go to another part of the land and build 100 over there. 100,000 was it. So figure that out. What are we going to do with all the rest of the land? That's our commercial district. I'd rather see some of the beautiful land, like right here is in this nice picture that they sent around, which is on the outskirts of town, which is zoned residential agriculture and residential forestry. No, not a place for a big box, small box, or any kind of box except for a barn. This is what we got to protect. The way we can protect that is by getting some commercial tax base on our commercial land. That's how we can protect this.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stanton. Should designs as to the future of our commercial zone be left entirely in the hands of the 7 planning board members who are not elected by the residents? And how would you recruit nominees for appointments to the town boards and committees, such as the zoning board, planning board, the other boards? Well, we'll begin with you, Ms. Ramos.
Presently, the planning board does not have the only say in any size commercial project. The way, and again, I have it right here, the way our zoning law is drafted, if it's a cluster development, the planning board, would review it. If it's a PUD, yes, in fact, the town board would have the final say, but the planning board would be involved in different phases. But even if it was not a planned unit development, the town board can ultimately kill any project that's undesirable for a number of criteria. Roadways, water, those issues are discussed in front of the planning board, or the town board, and could stop a project before it gets to the next phase of the planning board. That's just statistically and factually how it works. The senior housing over on New Scotland, although it was in front of the planning board and there was an overlay, the town board had say in that and could have stopped the project at any time. Another issue, I think, when you're talking about soliciting people, absolutely, I think we need to advertise, we need to go throughout the town, get people on the planning board, zoning board of appeals, the other boards from across the town, make sure we have a planner, a farmer on the planning board as we're supposed to. Those positions rotate every year. They're 7-year positions, but every year there's a new member that comes up. Each member should have to indicate whether they want to run again, and their name comes up before the planning board or the town board. And the town board picks the members of the planning board, as well as who the chairman will be each year. So I think, again, that's a misnomer to say that the planning board can run amok with a large project. That's just factually inaccurate. And as I discussed the 14 criteria before, many of those criteria are controlled by either the planning board, the seeker process, Albany County planning, and I think that needs to be considered, and it will be a long process. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Armisen. Mr. LaGrange?
Thanks. The planning board, again, where I was for 4 years, serving as a member, we do have constraints of sorts, seeker process and others, but if you talk to anybody in the know of how those processes work, the planning board tends to have a lot of their own unilateral ability to make the decisions and forgive things, because so many things in that law that Ross talked about are a bit subjective. Our planning board has done a very solid job in general. And, but the fact is, when we get into these larger scale situations, it's so much more important to have an extra level. Wouldn't take a couple of years or anything of the sort, but with defined ways of approaching it and being able to solicit so much more information and so forth. It's very important when we get to this larger scale type of application that we have another level of review. As far as getting planning board members, yes, farmers are encouraged by the state to be participants in the planning board. It's not a requirement though. But I think it's a very good thing, and I was pleased that Bob's staff and Ed Clark at the time asked me, and I'm very open to getting somebody else there as a representative of agriculture. But we have a tremendous resource in general of people in this town. We've seen it over and over again, and there's so much expertise out there that we don't have to make political appointments if somebody's run for office, or we don't have to get our friend or this or that. We can find people that are very capable, and if nothing else, this situation has given us that opportunity to get people involved.
Thank you very much, Mr. LaGrange. Mr. Stain?
I think that people sometimes think that planning board of this town just gives a green pass to any kind of development. And back at least 10 years ago, when I was at a town board meeting, and it was back when they were putting Stewart's on Route 85 in Clarksville. And the head man from Stewart's got up in front of it, and they finally got approval, everything was all set, it was a go. And he said, we have 285 stores we've done across the state and other states. This was the hardest one to get done so far. Now, what that tells me is that the planning board is doing their job. They're making sure all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. The same thing happened with Stewart's when it came in on Route 85 in New Scotland. They made Stewart's, planning board had Stewart's totally change their building design. It was the first one they'd done like that out of their whole system. So what I'm saying is planning boards have a lot of resources. Like Rod says, it all ends up going, the town board ends up having a say anyway. And having this PUD is just more red tape and more hoops for people to go through. And if the choice is to go to a town where they